As we head into a huge battle over the abortion amendment here in Virginia, horrifying statistics show us just how much is really at stake when it comes to the lives of women and children. First of all, a major study reveals that the abortion pill is far more dangerous than our government has been telling us. Plus, the stats also show us that Virginia has the largest increase in abortions in the entire nation. We discuss what all this means and what you can do about it. From the Family Foundation, I'm your host, Candi Cushman, with our president, Victoria Cobb. Well, welcome, everybody. Glad to have you with us for another episode of Speak Up Virginia. You know, right off the top here, I want to flag for you that we are going to be talking about some very important news on the abortion pill and the harm that it is causing for thousands of women that it has not been previously reported. I think this is so important for you to share with people in your sphere, especially as we are facing a huge battle against the abortion amendment here in Virginia. So I want to encourage you to share this episode. An easy way to do that is just go to Family Foundation's YouTube channel. Go to Family Foundation's YouTube channel and look for the Speak Up Virginia playlist and make sure to share that with friends. So with that said, let's get into our topic.
All right, I got to flag one more thing. Somehow today we seem to have had a fly join our podcast. So before we have the Mike Pence debate moment where the fly is sitting on my head, or Candi brought up when we were talking about this, apparently Obama was able to snatch a fly. Oh, there he is. See? I don't know if you see it on the camera.
There is a famous clip where Obama very coolly reaches up and catches a fly.
I'm not that cool. So he's probably, the fly is just going to probably fly right past. So we're gonna talk about serious things, and we're going to ignore this fly.
All right. Now, by bringing that up, I think everyone is going to be looking for the fly that is watching us on YouTube.
Well, see, it gives you a reason to watch. If you're Anyway.
All right.
Well, it is funny on a serious topic day.
Yeah, we do. Making a shift now we have a very serious study to share with you. In fact, I would say this is monumental, and that is no exaggeration in calling this monumental, because for the first time, we have real-world data on thousands of women that has just blown the cover off this claim that the abortion pill is safer and is as safe as Tylenol. This claim that the abortion pill is as safe as Tylenol. No one can make that claim anymore looking at this data with a clear conscience. For the first time, we can unquestionably see that thousands of women are at risk for serious complications. And, I just want to look at what are the major takeaways from this study. So, Victoria, help us understand the takeaways and the ramifications of it.
Sure. So, I think it's important to understand what the study is versus the data that we've had. So, up until now, the only thing we've known is what the clinical trials showed. Clinical trials are done in a certain setting with certain protocols. And out of that, basically, I guess the FDA decided we're going to move forward and allow chemical abortion. And I guess they put on the bottle, the official thing is that it's less than 0.5%. Does that sound right?
Serious adverse, I guess.
Serious adverse reactions.
Yeah.
So what this is, which is very different, is we've now had 5 years of people taking this chemical abortion. And so the Ethics and Public Policy Center, which is a think tank, basically went and reviewed insurance claims. So these are the real instances, the redacted, nobody's information is out there personal, that they took this, but they looked and said, okay, there's 850,000 uses of this chemical abortion pill, which, first of all, that to me, that was a staggering number for me to read. I understand it's over 5 years, but it's still a lot to take in. But out of that, they can look and see how many also then right away have a claim on hemorrhaging sepsis. So the connected complications, because your insurance has to, you have to flag it, you have to code it, and you send it into the insurance company.
My understanding is those 850,000, those are just the ones that are connected to insurance claims, right?
Yes, I suppose you could. Yeah, that's an interesting point, that there could be more that people are not using insurance for. So that is stunning in the first place. And out of those instances, they found that almost 11% had this complication rate. So hemorrhaging sepsis, infection, that is mind-blowing. That is literally at almost more than 1 in 10 people who take this pill.
Let's just stop right there. One in 10 people, women, When you say these serious complications, I just want to stop right there for a moment because you said sepsis, hemorrhaging. I mean, we're talking
Infection.
about emergency room type of visits. We're not just talking about something like nausea.
People die from sepsis every day. I mean, this is the reality is these infections get into your body and can kill you. This is not, it is stunning. And the idea that we've been downplaying this because of these clinical trials, that women have been believing that this is at all like a Tylenol. And I think the Tylenol rate is like an incident is like 1 out of 10,000.
If we had to estimate, of serious complications.
That's what I had read. So I mean, this is absurd. That is even in the same
So 1 in
universe.
10,000 versus 1 in 10.
Which you can guess, and the pro-life movement has been saying for a long time, because what the chemical abortion pill is dealing with is what it is doing relative to what a Tylenol is doing in your body.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, we all knew that was a farce, but now we have the data to say not only is this obviously ridiculous, this is factually horrible.
Well, let's talk about a little bit the difference between what's on that FDA label, the Food and Drug Administration label, and what the real world stats are telling us. I want to talk about that because it's several times higher, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're 0.5%, if that's what they've been telling us, then you think, okay, my chance of having something happen to me is non-existent. 0.5% people think that's not going to be me. If it's 1 in 10, it's a stunner. It's a stunner. And so, and the question will be, will this information actually make it out into the mainstream? This is also a whole nother, because the abortion industry is constantly covering up their own data.
I think the study was concluding it's a rate 22 times higher than what they were reporting. So Victoria, how are we going to hold the FDA accountable for this?
Well, the movement has basically taken this data and has sent some letters collectively all across, all the pro-life organizations have come together and said, look, this is dangerous. Please, at a minimum, the FDA should roll back what what Biden, we were talking about his fly thing, and now I've got him on the mind, but what Biden did under that administration where they took away all the protocols around this. So at a minimum, we got to get back to that, if not completely take this pill off the market, which I think is really the...
Yeah. Well, the co-author of the study, Ryan Anderson, some of y'all may remember Ryan Anderson's name. He's done a lot of really fabulous studies on life, family, and marriage issues. He's a well-known bioethicist. He has degrees from Princeton, Notre Dame. He talked about what you're talking about, the need to hold the FDA accountable. And, I think he said Obama should have some responsibility for the FDA because some of this happened under his watch. So you're not off there.
Okay.
But let's just listen to a clip of Ryan Anderson talking to our friends at the Family Research Council about this fact.
The last thing I'll say is that why do we see such poor outcomes? Both the Obama and the Biden administration got rid of most all of the major safety protections that the FDA originally required when they approved of the pill. So what we're calling on the Trump FDA to do is, for right now, just reinstate those original safety provisions. Reinstate doctor office visits, in-office visits. Don't allow telehealth. Don't allow mail-order abortion pills. Require physician oversight as a woman takes the abortion pill. Women deserve to know the truth about the abortion pill, and women deserve to have safe, quality health care.
Well, I think it's really important to keep in mind when Ryan's talking about that harm to women, that we really have in the forefront the faces of actual women that have to suffer through these complications.
Yeah, we've talked about these things before, but you have that young teen girl who was in Louisiana who was pressured into taking the chemical abortion, it sounds like, didn't even want to, and then found herself having to call 911 when it didn't go right. And thankfully, she was able to be saved. But then you also have that Georgia mom. Mm-hmm. If you remember the tragic situation of the Georgia mom who was, I believe, 28 years old, took this chemical abortion, then had to get to an operating table. Basically then had to complete the abortion, I gather, was the incident. And
I think they were, or just at that point, you were probably dealing with removing the remains.
Right.
And because it was a chemical abortion, they didn't do that in time.
And she lost her life.
She died on the operating table.
And she left behind a 6-year-old son.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we've known these incidences. Now we know that they are not the 0.5%, right? I mean, now we know that they are part of 1 in 10 who have some kind of complication. Those 2 just happen to make it to be big enough that they actually got carried by the news, because I think a lot of this does not get covered.
It puts a face to it. You know, that girl in Louisiana, I mean, she was under the age of 18, so you're talking about a child. You know, that's an uncovered story, or a story that isn't covered, with these young girls that get pressured into abortions and have to deal with and this mail order thing makes that much higher risk.
I was just going to say, we haven't really hit that, but that's the big problem in all of this, is that you've got these states that are pro-life, that have protected the unborn, and then you've got states who abortion runs rampant. Virginia is a place where abortion runs rampant, but then there's states that take it to the next level and they protect their own doctors who send pills from their permissive state to a pro-life state. So New York to Texas, I don't know.
New York to Louisiana, which is what happened to this
New York
girl.
to Louisiana.
Yeah.
And that has... That means that doctor is nowhere near that exact pregnancy. They certainly haven't done an ultrasound to make sure that the child is actually in the womb, so that there's not an ectopic pregnancy, because of course a chemical abortion on an ectopic pregnancy can't do anything. And we know ectopic pregnancies is how women die in childbirth. I mean, that is literally I think it is the largest maternal death situation, is when you have an ectopic pregnancy. And so conceptually, this is bad. Before you get to the data, we knew this was bad.
Yeah.
Getting the mail order component out of this, and getting these states to stop shielding doctors for contributing to the death, like the one in Louisiana or Georgia.
Well, and let's understand, before, Obama and Biden, FDA came in and I guess reversed complications, before there were common sense safety regulations, right? Like, help us understand, like, you had to have a doctor visit.
An in-person visit. That was part of the clinical trial that got us to the 0.5%.
Okay.
So think about, if the clinical trial said, okay, this is safe if you have a doctor visit, that means that doctor probably ruled out the ectopics, for example. That's just one thing that visit would have made a difference on. That once they eliminate that visit, of course, the complication rate is going to be even worse. So it's like we've had a pill on the market that is under different parameters than when they said this is reasonably safe and put it on the market. Wow. That's the problem. And that's what I think we've been saying for a while. It's just now we have 850,000 data points to look at to know for sure that was not in any way exaggerated. I
just don't know how the FDA and other medical professionals can just continue to ignore this data. What can people do to help pressure, our government to really be held accountable for that?
Well, I mean, people can always, write into the FDA, right? I mean, really put the pressure on this is ultimately President Trump and his administration now. Yeah. So we hope that they will be sensitive to the data. RFK seems like he's paying attention to data in other areas related to this. So, I mean, it's really about putting the pressure on to say enough is enough. It's also about putting pressure on news outlets to actually cover these things, because women are being duped. And when we don't tell the truth, women are harmed. And so the abortion industry is the only one. They're covering up their own data. They are pretending everything is safe. They always have. And this is the result. So it is also on basic journalism to put out what's important.
Well, let's talk about what's happening here in Virginia, because, when we see statistics showing that the abortion pill is responsible for well over half of all abortions, and then we have this battle coming that we are really already in over the abortion amendment, an amendment enshrining unlimited abortion in our Constitution, we know that the abortion pill will be a big part of that, and that it is not safe. And so tell us what's going on in Virginia. We've gotten also some disturbing news about statistics on our state.
Yeah, I think we got to talk about our own numbers and then how this all fits together. Yeah. So we just, as a Commonwealth, made the headlines. We want to lead the nation, but not in this. Mm-hmm. So we just made the headlines that we had the largest increase in abortion year over year in the country. So we went from we're talking 2023 to 2024. So we went from 33,390 abortions to 38,920. So that's a 55 and 30, abortion rate change. That is brutal.
Yeah, let's just put this map here we have of states on here. I think this is fascinating. This comes from the Guttmacher organization, which is actually pro-abortion.
Pro-abortion. So we're using their numbers.
Yeah. So, but it gives us information here that we need to pay attention to. So you will notice that Virginia is the darker shaded, blue, darkish shaded state for having the biggest increase. And then Florida, interestingly, is shaded the most kind of orange red because they've had the biggest decrease. Help us understand the bigger picture and why we are seeing Virginia, and Florida at those two extremes.
Well, because there are the states to the south of Virginia, Florida being one of the great examples, have protected human life. They've passed laws that said, look, we're not going to have abortion at least and some of them are 12 weeks, some of them are when they feel pain, some of them are a heartbeat, right?
Yeah.
So they've said enough is enough, at least at this point, total bans in some cases. And so when that occurs, then you have Virginia as sort of the next closest state.
Yes.
And we permit it all. We have horrific abortion laws, and we allow abortion up until the moment of birth. Yes, there are a few more restrictions in that third trimester, but we're very permissive with abortion. And so we become almost the advertised state to go to if you're a woman in the South and you want an abortion, which is devastating.
Okay, I'm looking at stats here that say during the second half of 2024, 1 in 3 abortions performed in Virginia were out of state.
Yeah.
So that really illustrates what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, most of that increase is women coming into our Commonwealth. And I just, I cannot imagine that even people who are pro-choice, not believing the way you and I believe, really want Virginia to be, I think that's got to be the most extreme view, that you really want Virginia to be the place where we, bring women to here just to take the life of the next generation. That's a stunner to me. And it really is because we've been so permissive and because we've popped up all these new clinics. So we know, we've been talking about this for a while here, in the last couple of years, we're talking 5, 6, 7 new clinics. When you do that, you're just inviting harm to women because you're advertising that in other states.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to get this information out to people where they understand the real state of abortion in Virginia, because one of the big arguments for the people pushing, enshrining unlimited abortion in the state constitution is that, we have to get back to Roe v. Wade. But these stats show us we are way beyond the Roe v. Wade level. And in fact, even before this news came out, Victoria, you had been warning that we were headed toward becoming the abortion capital of the South. Are we already there?
I think we may already be there. I can't look at these numbers in any other way and say that we are not already the abortion capital of the South, which is just truly devastating. But we do know by looking at other states that when states pass the constitutional amendments, they gain another 10% in abortion. So we're expecting that if we were unable to beat back this amendment, we're talking another 10%, because we were already talking about, in the last 5 years or so, a 103% rise in abortion in our state. Because our numbers used to be, just for people to get some context, not that long ago, our numbers were more like 17,000. So it is crushing to see these kind of numbers. And I got to sort of tie this back to the chemical abortion thing.
Wow, I'm getting my mind around this. So now we're at almost 40,000.
Right, we're pushing towards 40,000. And if you dig into those numbers, out of the 38,000 that we just talked about, 66% are chemical. So we are actually more than the average chemical abortion. So, and then interestingly enough, there's data that shows that 20% of that number is given in, I guess they'd call them virtual clinics only. So not even clinics that are functioning in Virginia on the ground with bricks and mortar, but literally sort of like virtual medical facilities are handing out chemicals. So it's this whole thing of no doctor visit. Like that's in our own data in our state.
Right back to the safety issues, the real harm to thousands of women we were just talking about.
Yeah, there's no question. It's happening in our state. It's happening in large numbers, and without people knowing that this is the result of chemical abortion, that so many women are harmed, not just the unborn babies. It's going to keep happening.
I mean, it's a lot of women. And we're not being told the truth. All right. Well, those are all really sobering realities to digest. So, Victoria, what can people do about it, especially right here in Virginia?
Well, I do think getting this information out is really important, that we have got to be a force for making sure people understand the truth around chemical abortions, and then pressuring. I mean, because this starts with the FDA, we got to get these things back to the parameters or off the market altogether. And then it comes to our Commonwealth. We have got to fight off this abortion amendment, because the last thing we want to do is shield all of our doctors, which is sort of part of the amendment too. I mean, there's definitely language in that abortion amendment that would, leave our abortion providers completely held harmless if they do anything. I mean, they could literally be a part of sending a pill that kills a woman, and there would be no consequences based on what I read in our abortion.
Yes, I forgot about that language. It's in
the constitutional amendment. We don't think about that. We don't spend time on that because honestly, just it's so bad in its entirety. So we got to be ready. And I hate to say it, the first way to stop those, and this is going to feel political for this show, but the first way to stop that is to elect 51 House members that disagree with those amendments in this year's election. Because if November's election, if we can just stop having a pro-choice majority in the House, then they'll stop the amendment from passing the second time, which stops it from getting to our ballot box November of 2026. So it's a long road, but
I just want to reiterate where we are at in Virginia right now. We are not at what is advertised as a safe and legal state of abortion. We are already at the most extreme level. Abortion allowed pretty much up until birth. You just have to find the right loopholes. We are at where a vast majority of women are getting these chemical abortions without any safety regulations. We are already at almost the most extreme. It will only get worse as far as extremism without any safety protocols.
I honestly feel like I should have done the math. But if you think about 38,000 abortions, 66% of them are chemical. We know that 1 in 10 out of that number is going to experience sepsis, infection, hemorrhaging. I mean, where does that leave us? Like, our hospitals must be flooded with women that are coming in with real problems.
Yeah. Well, on that very serious note, thank you for bearing with us as we, unroll these troubling statistics. But we have to share the truth because the truth does set us free, does create freedom, and we want freedom for women and children in the state. So please help us get this information out. You can share it on YouTube, like I mentioned earlier, the Speak Up Virginia playlist on YouTube. You can get there through our Family Foundation website. Also, I'll just mention we have the Stop Unlimited Abortion banner. If you go to our website, familyfoundation.org, you can click on there to sign up for how to get involved and stop this thing. Join with us in doing that. And then if you are listening on Apple or Spotify and our audio-only platforms, you can help get the word out just by giving us a 5-star review if you appreciate the information, and that helps elevate the program. So thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you being here with us. Tune in next time, and remember, we are stronger when we speak together.